Some say life is a series of random coincidences, accidents without meaning. But what if there's no such thing as coincidence? What if I told you that every choice you've ever made, every person you've ever met, was never random? What if the very act of watching this video was written in the stars long before you were born? Some believe we live in a chaotic world, random events, luck, chance. Others suspect something deeper, a hidden design connecting the moments of our lives. Science calls it probability. Psychology calls it pattern recognition. But the ancients, they whispered about fate. Somewhere between cold logic and whispered prophecy lies the unsettling realm of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that feel like they're guiding us toward something or someone. Stay with me. By the end of this, you may never see your life the same way again. What if I told you that your choices were never truly yours? That the thoughts in your head, the paths you walk, and even the people you meet were already decided, woven into the very fabric of reality before you were born? It sounds absurd, doesn't it? After all, we make choices every day. Coffee or tea, left or right, stay or leave. But have you ever made a decision that felt inevitable, as if something unseen had already nudged you toward it? Some would call that a coincidence. Others would say it's fate. And then there's a third possibility, something far stranger, lurking between chance and destiny. Synchronicity, a pattern we were never meant to see. By the time this story is over, you might begin to notice it everywhere. And once you see it, it sees you. We are told that life is random, a chaotic swirl of atoms ruled by probability and luck. That's why coincidences, those strange, unexpected alignments, are often dismissed. Ever thought about a long-lost friend, only for them to message you moments later? Found yourself in a faraway place, only to run into someone from your past? Or read a word you've never heard before, only to suddenly hear it everywhere? Mere chance, they say. Your brain is just a pattern-seeking machine, evolved to find meaning in the meaningless. Psychologists call this apophenia, our mind's tendency to connect random dots. It's why we see faces in clouds or hear hidden messages in static noise. But what if some patterns are real? There are documented cases of uncanny coincidences that defy logic. In 2001, a woman in the UK won the lottery. Twice, the odds over 1 trillion to 1. In 1975, a man was killed by a taxi in Bermuda. A year later, his identical twin was killed by a taxi, on the same street, by the same driver, carrying the same passenger. In 1898, a book titled Futility described an unsinkable ship named the Titan. 14 years later, the Titanic met its fate in chillingly similar circumstances. How many coincidences does it take before something stops being coincidence? The whisper of synchronicity. If coincidence is random, synchronicity is purposeful. The Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung was the first to name it. Meaningful coincidences that seem to defy logic. Unlike mere chance, synchronicities feel designed, as if reality is speaking to us in symbols and events. Jung himself experienced a famous synchronicity. A woman in his office told him about a dream involving a golden scarab. At that moment, a golden beetle tapped against his window, a species rarely seen in that area. For Zheng, it was proof. Her unconscious mind and external reality were mysteriously linked. Think about it. Have you ever had a dream that later came true? Or stumbled upon an answer at the exact moment you needed it? The number 1111 appearing on clocks. A book falling off a shelf, revealing exactly the pages you needed to read. Some believe these are hints from the universe, moments when the fabric of reality flickers, revealing the hidden order beneath. Religions and spiritual traditions have long embraced this idea. Buddhism teaches that all things are connected. What happens outside is often a reflection of what happens within. Hinduism speaks of karma, an invisible force binding past actions to future events. Christianity tells of divine intervention, where coincidences are actually signs from a higher power. But not all synchronicities are comforting. Some are warnings. The poet Percy Shelley dreamed of a drowning death. Weeks later, he was lost at sea. Mark Twain had a vision of his brother lying in a coffin. Days later, it happened exactly as he saw. So, is synchronicity a message? Or is it something far more terrifying? Evidence that our lives are already written. The idea of fate has haunted human civilization for centuries. In ancient Greece, the Moirai, also known as the Fates, measure and cut the thread of every life. In Norse mythology, the Norns sat at the roots of the Yggdrasil, weaving the destinies of gods and men alike. Today, we tell ourselves we are free, that our future is unwritten. But what if we aren't? Take the chilling tale of Abraham Lincoln and John F. Kennedy. Lincoln was elected in 1846, Kennedy in 1946. Lincoln's secretary was named Kennedy. Kennedy's secretary was named Lincoln. Lincoln was shot in a theater, and his killer hid in a warehouse. Kennedy was shot from a warehouse, and his killer hid in a theater. Or consider the final destination phenomenon. The theory that those who escape death by chance often find it waiting for them later. People who miss doomed flights, only to die in bizarre accidents soon after. Survivors of tragedies who later disappear under strange circumstances. It raises an unsettling question. Can we truly escape fate, or does it simply wait for the right moment? The conspiracy of reality. Here's where it gets even stranger. What if coincidences, synchronicities, and fate aren't separate forces at all, but evidence of a much larger system? A system we were never meant to notice. Some theorists believe in the simulation hypothesis, the idea that reality is a controlled construct, like a vast, cosmic video game. If this is true, then synchronicities might not be messages from the universe, but glitches, evidence that something beyond our perception is pulling the strings. Others point to the Mandela effect, where thousands of people misremember the same historical facts. Did reality shift? Are we living in a branching timeline? Or is something altering the past while we're looking the other way? And then there are those who claim to have seen behind the curtain. People who recall events that never happened. Strangers who recognize you, though you've never met. The feeling that you've already lived this moment before, but not in a dream. Could it be that synchronicity isn't about connection, but correction? An invisible force realigning reality when something or someone steps out of place. The choice that was never yours. Now, think back on your life. The strange coincidences, the moments that felt too perfect, too designed, the roads you took and the ones you didn't. Did you choose your path? Or you were always meant to walk it? Some say our choices are our own. Some say we are guided by forces unseen. And some whisper that, in the end, we were always meant to arrive at the same destination. Coincidence, synchronicity, fate. Maybe they were never separate. Maybe they were just three different names for the same thing. And maybe, just maybe, the fact that you're watching this now was never a coincidence at all.